A cake, a crowd, and a sentence that sliced through a chandelier-lit ballroom like a broken bottle. Back to the kitchen where you belong. The next second, a hand smeared with chocolate came at my face and 300 phones popped up like little spotlights hungry for blood. That was the night I learned humiliation can be gasoline, if you know when to light the match. You ever stand in a room where your name means less than your dress, where your resume is invisible, and your skin is the only thing people see? You know what I mean? I stood there, navy dress, ruined, frosting, dripping into my ear, and the heiress with the microphone laughed like she'd just finished her favorite magic trick. Victoria Sterling. Old money, cold heart, hot mic. This is what happens when gatecrashers try to act like they belong, she said. And a few guests gave that soft, guilty laughter that people give when cruelty wears a tuxedo. I didn't flinch. Not because I'm made of stone. Sugar is sticky and shame is stickier. I didn't flinch because I could hear the clock. Not the ballroom clock, the contract clock. It was ticking loud, and I was the only person in that room who knew what would happen if it hit zero. Quick pause. If it were you, cake in your hair, 300 strangers recording, what would you have done? Swing back. Cry, run, freeze. I've replayed those choices 100 times. Here's what I did instead. I breathed in through my nose, kept my chin level, and looked straight into the official live stream camera the Sterling team had so helpfully set up. Phones are one thing. A broadcast to the world. That's a megaphone. Ma'am, I said, voice steady, I believe there's been a misunderstanding. That word can be a shield or a fuse. Tonight, it was both. Victoria paced in a slow circle, like a game show host who already knew the answer. Don't pretend, she said, heel, pressing down on the papers that spilled from my briefcase. We watched you rifling through confidential documents. People like you don't belong here. People like you. 2 words that tell you exactly what a room is made of. The air changed. The crowd heard it. The cameras heard it. I felt the edge of the contract bend under her heel, and that clock in my head roared. Hold it. Pattern interrupt. You should know who I am because she didn't. My name is Dr. Maya Washington. I run a division that keeps the lights on in places you don't see. Hospitals, cities, payrolls, factories, the invisible engine room of the internet. Titles don't matter to people like Victoria until they do, and that night they were about to matter in letters 10 feet high. I handed the hotel manager Marcus my card. Simple, white, heavy stock. He read it, and the color drained out of his face like water slipping down a drain. He tried to hold it together, bless him. But in a room like that, even your pulse goes public. Victoria snatched the card. This is the worst fake I've ever seen, she laughed. Microsoft executives don't look like her. Phones tilted closer. Someone whispered, did she really say that? Another voice, keep filming. I took out my cracked phone, courtesy of her heel, and mirrored my corporate credentials to the ballroom projector. Executive portal, photo, title, authority, the power to sign the partnership. The screen lit up and the room shifted like a flock of birds changing direction under a shadow. Whisper wave. Is that real? No way. Oh my God. Marcus did what men who fear lawsuits do. He put it on speaker. Microsoft Corporation, Redmond headquarters. How may I direct your call? Connect me to Dr. Washington's office, he said, voice tight like a tie pulled too hard. Click. Click. This is Jennifer, executive assistant to Dr. Washington. Jennifer, I said, brushing a streak of frosting from my lip. Because dignity and dessert can share a sentence, it's me. I'm at the Sterling Gala. We've had an incident involving cake. Silence, then a gasp that ran across the marble like a flare. We're watching the live stream right now. Are you safe? Do we need to call the police? Wait. Here comes the twist. The real one. The CEO arrived. Jonathan Sterling's suit tailored like an apology, eyes the color of a bad quarter. He broke through the circle of phones, looked up at the projector, looked down at the frosted corner of the contract, peeking from my briefcase, and somewhere behind his ribcage, you could hear the sound of a dam cracking. He turned to his daughter. "Victoria," he whispered like a man who finally sees the lit match in a dry field. "What have you done?" She smiled. A little girl with a broken vase hidden behind her back. "Daddy, she's lying. She doesn't belong here. I handled it with some cake." That's when the number hit the air. 4.2 billion. The size of the deal I was minutes from signing. The deal that could keep 12,000 checks from bouncing 12,000 mortgages, from trembling 12,000 families, from Googling how to break a lease without a penalty. My division's partnership with Sterling Industries, years of engineering and lawyering and spreadsheets to build the bridge. And it was about to evaporate because someone thought humiliation was a sport. Tell me the truth. Do you think that's fair? To put that choice in the hands of the person you just assaulted? If you were me, would you sign anyway and fight from the inside? Or would you draw a line with your name on it and accept the quake that follows? I opened my briefcase, slowly on purpose, giving every camera a clean shot. The contract lay there perfect except for a smear of frosting, like a scar on a beautiful face. I held it up. "This," I said, and my voice carried to the back where the band stood frozen, "is the Microsoft Sterling agreement." It had a deadline. It just passed. The room didn't gasp. It detonated. Shouts, curses, tears, the chandelier trembling from the vibration. Victoria's smile fell off her face like a mask that forgot its glue. "Please," Jonathan said, and then he did something I wasn't ready for. He dropped to his knees. Marble floor. The same marble where his daughter smashed cake into my face like a weapon. "Dr. Washington, I am sorry. Don't punish 12,000 families for one person's cruelty." Pattern interrupt. I kept my face still. Because pity and justice can look alike if you squint, and I couldn't afford to blur them. Security moved in. They'd watched the feeds. 6 camera angles, 1 official stream, a sea of phones. "Miss Sterling, the chief said you assaulted a guest." "It was just cake," she screamed, as if sugar made it weightless, as if humiliation hadn't been weaponized for centuries, as if people like you didn't carry history like a backpack full of rocks. The cuffs clicked. Some people clapped. Others booed. The internet ate the whole thing like popcorn. Stick around because what happened next will blow your mind. I took the microphone she'd dropped. I didn't clear my throat or smooth my hair. I let the cake stay because some stains should be seen. "Ladies and gentlemen," I said, "actions have consequences." I set the mic down and walked out, not fast, not slow, just steady. Outside, the night hit my face cold. In the glass, I saw my reflection. Not a victim, not a hero, just a woman who made a call that would echo. Here's the part. The highlight reels skip. The phone starts ringing before you hit the curb. PR teams, lawyers, board members, strangers who suddenly remember your number. "We can fix this. We'll fire her. We'll donate. We'll name the scholarship after you. Think of the workers. Think of the optics." Over all that, my mother's voice from when I was 15, and a teacher accused me of plagiarizing because my sentences were too clean. "You don't owe anyone your dignity to keep their comfort." Yeah, that line still stings in a good way. Quick backstory, because it matters. I didn't grow up with silver spoons. I grew up with stainless steel. My first job was washing dishes at a diner where the machine broke twice a week. and the owner swore he'd fix it for real this time. I learned two things there. Sauces stick if you don't rinse fast, and people's respect sticks even less if you don't claim it early. Years later, I mailed the owner a copy of my dissertation with a thank you note for the flexible shifts. He never wrote back. That's fine. Some circles close quietly. In the car, frosting stiff in my hair like cheap gel, I asked myself a harder question than any investor ever has. What do I owe and to whom? The 12,000. I felt them even if I didn't know their names. But what about the next 12,000 at the next company who'd learn from this moment what our signatures endorse? What about the girls in science club who'll Google my name one day and try to read between the lines? Did she bend? Did she break? Did she buy her seat by swallowing her voice? I called my GC, General Counsel, the person whose blood pressure I can spike with one sentence. The contract is void, I said. We will not extend. He exhaled like a man watching a storm come ashore. Understood. We'll draft the statement. Make it clear I said this is about values, not vengeance, and we'll take care of the people. And here's the twist I chose. We set aside a fund, real money, not a PR fig leaf, to support Sterling employees directly hit by the fallout, with priority for hourly workers and folks with the thinnest cushion. We partnered with two nonprofits that specialize in job placement and upskilling, and we earmarked cloud credits for small businesses in the Sterling supply chain so they wouldn't collapse in the aftershock. Then we made it public. No glossy video, just a plain black and white statement with the number and the plan. Maybe you're rolling your eyes right now. Tell me in the comments, grandstanding or responsibility? The internet split right down the middle. Half called it leadership. Half said I used 12,000 people as collateral for my pride. Think pieces bloomed like mold. Cancel culture, cake culture, class warfare, whether cake counts as assault. And the clip kept climbing. Millions watched the throw, the gasp, the reveal, the cuffs. A week later, I got a letter. Not a DM. Not an email. A letter. From a line worker named Alina, 9 years at Sterling. She said she'd seen 1,000 tiny choices that added up to a culture where people without stock options learned to keep their heads down. She thanked me. Then she wrote, I still need the paycheck. She closed with this, I want my daughter to know we don't buy our place by swallowing our dignity. I cried. Not at earnings calls. Letters like that get me. Victoria took a deal. Of course she did. A public apology written by men with perfect hair and gentle spines. I've learned my lesson. I'm committed to change. Maybe she has. I hope it sticks. But consequences aren't about feeding the crowd's hunger for spectacle. They're about recalibrating the scale so the next person pauses before they swing. I met with Jonathan later. Quiet room. Coffee between us like a peace offering no one touched. He looked 20 years older. You destroyed me, he said, not accusatory, just reporting the weather. No, I said you destroyed yourself and your daughter helped. I just refused to underwrite it. He closed his eyes. We took the live stream down. It's the internet, I said. You know how that works. He nodded, then surprised me. How do I build something that doesn't rot from the inside? Next time I gave him the only answer I trust. Hire people who tell you the truth when it costs them, and pay them enough that they can afford to keep telling you. If you've stayed with me this far, thank you. I want to ask you straight. Should one act cost a company $4.2 billion and a daughter her father's respect, or is that the price we pay when we finally decide words mean something? Again, people say, money talks. That night, dignity spoke louder. There's a detail I haven't told you. During the chaos, while the comments were flying, and the projector showed my profile. A kid stood by the band with his mom, maybe 10. He tugged her sleeve and pointed at the screen. "She looks like me," he said. It hit me harder than any apology. Representation isn't a poster in a hallway. It's a moment a child sees and quietly files under possible. It took a cake to make that moment happen in front of 1 million people. Yeah, that happened. So what's the lesson beyond "don't weaponize dessert"? It isn't just be nice or lose the bag. It's deeper. Partnerships aren't just contracts, they're signals. When a company like mine signs with a company like his, we're not just trading services, we're trading reputations. We're telling the market, this is how we do business. These are the rooms we bless. If the room teaches the wrong lesson, our signature becomes an endorsement of that lesson. I won't do that. Not for 4.2 billion. Not for 40. Will I get everything right? No. I'm not a saint. I run late, miss birthdays, triple book Tuesdays, and drink too much coffee on Thursdays. But I won't bargain away the part of me that 15-year-old dishwasher fought for. Not because I'm brave, because I'm practical. Cultures powered by cruelty eventually choke, and when they do, they don't just hurt their targets, they poison everyone who has to breathe the same air. 2 messages before I close. To anyone who's been on the receiving end of people like you, I see you. You don't have to perform gratitude for access you already earned. You don't have to swallow humiliation to keep a chair at a table that wobbles every time you rest your elbows. And to leaders, the real ones, not the titles, look at your rooms. If the only people who feel safe correcting you share your last name or your golf club, your empire is already a museum. Now I want your take. If it were you, would you have signed and then fought from the inside or drawn the line and let the waves hit? Do you think that's fair? To let a workforce carry the shock of one person's cruelty? Or is that the only way organizations learn? What does accountability look like when jobs are on the line? Tell me. Argue with me. Teach me something I missed. I walked out of that hotel without washing my hair, frosting stiff like a helmet I didn't ask for. I slept like someone who finally set down a weight she'd been carrying since the first time she heard "you don't look like." The next morning, I showered twice, conditioned 3 times, and made pancakes because sometimes you take the symbol and turn it into breakfast. Then I went to work. Statements to review engineers to unblock a feature to ship. Life didn't pause because a rich girl slipped on her own arrogance. It rarely does. I'll end how I began, with a cake, a crowd, and a sentence meant to send me running. I didn't run. I stood still, told the truth, and made a choice that people will argue about long after the frosting is gone. Satisfying for me? Yes. Controversial? Absolutely. Necessary? I believe so. Do you? If this story hit a nerve, share it with someone who needs a reminder that respect isn't extra credit, it's the baseline. Drop your take below. Was I right to void the deal, or should I have signed and fought from the inside? Tell me where you're watching from, what you'd have done, and the moment you decided your dignity wasn't negotiable. And if you want more true stories where the power flips and the lesson lands hard, subscribe, pass it on, and keep the conversation alive.